That night, fog rolled in from the Pacific over lands and like a living thing. It crawled over the black rocks. It covered the trail leading down to the ruins of Sutro Baths. It swallowed the sound of the waves, the wind, and the cars along Point Lobos Avenue, leaving behind a silence so thick that it felt less like standing outside by the ocean, and more like being trapped inside a sealed room. At 2:17 in the morning, a security camera near the Mary Way parking area recorded a woman walking down the slope toward the ruins. She wore a dark blue raincoat. In her right hand, she carried an old film canister. In her left hand, she carried a white towel, yellowed with age. No one could see her face clearly. The camera captured only her shape as she walked into the fog, then disappeared at the broken bend of the path near the cliff edge. 13 minutes later, the external microphone on that camera picked up a sound that did not belong there. It was not the waves. It was not the wind. It was a lifeguard whistle. One long, sharp blast, echoing as if it had come from inside a crowded swimming pool. Then came the laughter of children. And then, a man's voice, very small and very close to the microphone, whispered, "Count again." The camera recorded no one standing there. Only fog. And beneath the ruins of Sutro Baths, where the swimming pools had vanished more than half a century earlier, there came the sound of water slapping against concrete walls. Beat by beat. Beat by beat. As if someone were still swimming in the dark. Sutro Baths was a massive public bathhouse and saltwater swimming complex in the Land's End area of San Francisco, developed by Adolf Sutro in the late 19th century. The site once featured a vast glass roof, multiple saltwater pools, exhibition spaces, restaurants, a stage, and the capacity to serve thousands of people at once. After years of decline, Sutro Baths was later converted into an ice skating rink, then partially demolished when plans emerged to build a high-rise apartment complex on the site. In 1966, a fire destroyed what remained of the structure. Today, only concrete foundations and ruins remain along the oceanfront, and the site is part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. Min Tran did not believe in ghosts. He said that every time a client sent him a strange recording and asked, "Do you hear a dead person in there?" Min always gave the same answer. "No. I hear background noise, wind, electricity, or someone speaking too close to the microphone by accident." He was 36 years old and lived alone in a small apartment in San Francisco's Richmond district. By day, he worked as a freelance audio restoration specialist for podcasts, small museums, and independent documentary filmmakers. At night, when work was slow, he drove rideshare to make rent. Min's job was not as romantic as people imagined. He spent long hours in front of a screen, watching audio waves rise and fall, removing hiss, balancing frequencies, and cleaning up the voices of people who were already dead. Some people sent cassette tapes of their parents before they passed away. Some sent answering machine recordings from 1992. Some sent wedding videos with ruined sound. To Min, memory was not sacred. Memory was damaged data. His job was simply to make it clearer. Until that Monday morning. The email arrived at 6:04. The sender was a woman named Grace Bell. The subject line was very short. Sutro Baths fire footage. Urgent restoration. Min opened it because of the word urgent. Clients who used that word were usually willing to pay extra. The email read, "Hello, Min. I have an 8mm film reel showing the Sutro Baths fire in 1966. The film was never supposed to have sound, but every time it has been projected in my family, we hear something. I know how impossible that sounds. I need you to restore it. Not the image. The sound. I need to know what they are saying before it is too late." Below the message were an address in Outer Sunset, a phone number, and a postscript. "If you hear the whistle, do not stop the recording." Min read that last line twice. Then he laughed. Not because it was funny. Because he had met too many people who believed old tapes could hold on to souls. He replied with a polite estimate, twice as high as his normal rate. 10 minutes later, Grace Bell accepted. No negotiation. No questions about timing. Only one more sentence. "I will bring the film at dusk. Please do not let it spend the night alone." Grace Bell appeared at exactly 5:43 that evening. She looked to be in her 70s, with silver hair pinned low and a slight bend in her back. She wore a dark blue raincoat even though it was not raining. On her left wrist, Min noticed a long scar that had faded to white. She did not come inside. She stood outside Min's apartment door and handed him a round metal film canister. "Is this the original?" Min asked. "The only copy," she said. Her voice was hoarse, like someone who had just stepped out of a smoke-filled room. Min took the canister. The metal was unnaturally cold, cold enough that he had to switch hands. "You said the film has no sound," he said. "So what exactly do you want me to restore?" Grace looked at him for a long time. "The part that should not be there," she said. Min waited for her to smile, or explain that it was a joke. She did not. Instead, she reached into her coat pocket and took out a small old key with an oval plastic tag attached to it. The tag was marked with the number 517. "Do you know how many private changing rooms Sutro Baths used to have?" she asked. Min shook his head. "Many," she said. "Enough for a person to disappear in one and have no one notice." She placed the key on top of the film canister. "I do not need you to believe me," she continued. "I only need you to listen all the way through." Min looked at the key. The number 517 was almost worn away, but it was still readable. "Is there someone in the film you knew?" he asked. Grace's mouth trembled. "My son," she said. The apartment hallway fell silent. Min felt awkward now. He knew the 1966 fire had happened when Sutro Baths was already in decline and partly being demolished. As far as he knew, there was no famous list of victims connected to that fire. "Your son died in the fire?" he asked more gently. Grace shook her head. "No one died in the fire," she said. "That is what they made us say." Then she turned to leave. Before she stepped down the stairs, she stopped without looking back. If you see a little girl in a yellow swimsuit in the film, she said, do not call her name. Why not? Grace tightened her hand around the railing. Because if she turns around, it means she heard you. That night, Min placed the film canister on his work desk. He did not open it right away. Some old objects carry a kind of weight that is hard to explain. Not because they are dangerous. Because they have been held by too many people who left too much unsaid. Grace Bell's film canister smelled of salt water, dust, and smoke. Inside was an 8mm film reel, along with a folded slip of paper. The paper contained only a few handwritten lines. June 26, 1966. Sutro Baths burning. Shot from Point Lobos. Do not project after midnight. Min frowned. Do not project after midnight. He hated details like that. They made everything feel staged. He loaded the reel into his scanner and began converting each frame to digital. The image appeared on his screen, gray and unstable. A pale sky. A black column of smoke rising from the coast. A few people standing along the road. Pieces of roof and structure sinking into fire. Nothing unusual. An old fire film. Shaking. Blurry. Silent. But when the software passed over the scratched optical edge of the film, Min saw a strange signal. This type of 8mm film was not supposed to have an audio track. It was not supposed to contain anything but image. And yet the software was receiving a faint waveform that appeared in several sections. Min assumed it was a scanning error. He ran it again. The signal remained. He zoomed in. It did not look like noise. It had rhythm. It had breaks. It had structure. Min put on his headphones. He pressed play. At first, there was only a dry rustling sound. Then something emerged from beneath it. Drip. 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 Like water falling onto tile. Min raised the volume. The dripping became clearer. Then came the sound of a crowd. Not a crowd standing outside watching a fire. This crowd echoed in an enclosed space, under a high roof. Bare feet running across a wet floor. Metal striking lockers. Someone laughing. Then a lifeguard whistle screamed. Min ripped the headphones off. His apartment was completely silent. He stared at the screen. The image still showed only Sutro Baths burning, filmed from a distance. He put the headphones back on. This time, after the whistle, a woman spoke. Count again. It is not 10. A man answered, very close, as if he were whispering just behind Min's neck. Write it down as no one inside. Min removed the headphones. His heart was racing. In audio restoration, strange things sometimes happen and still have explanations. False voices created by algorithms. Electrical interference. frequencies that the software mistakenly interprets as speech. But that sentence was too clear. Too meaningful. And worse, it occurred at the exact moment a small figure appeared at the bottom edge of the frame. Min rewound the footage. The frame shook. Smoke covered most of the building. At the lower edge, beside the people watching the fire, stood a little girl. She was wearing a yellow swimsuit. She stood with her back to the camera. Just as Grace Bell had said. Min enlarged the image. The girl was not looking at the fire. She was looking straight toward the person filming. But her face was cut across by a scratch in the film. Then Min noticed the worst part. In the first scan, that girl had not been there. The next morning, Min called Grace Bell. No one answered. He called 3 more times. On the 4th call, a younger woman answered. Who is this? My name is Min Tran. I am restoring a film for Grace Bell. The line went silent for several seconds. Who did you say? Grace Bell. She brought me a Sutro Baths film yesterday. The woman on the other end inhaled softly. Are you joking? No. My grandmother is dead. Min stood still. When did she die? Last February. The apartment seemed to grow colder. Min looked at the film canister on his desk. Maybe I have the wrong person, he said, although he did not believe it. You said she brought you a film? Yes. My grandmother did have a film reel about Sutro Baths. But it disappeared after she died. We searched everywhere for it. Min looked at the key marked 517 beside his keyboard. Did she have a son? He asked. The woman hesitated. Yes. But that is a family matter. Did he disappear? The silence lasted longer this time. Finally, she said, Where did you get my number? Min did not answer. He opened Grace Bell's email. The sender address was still there. But when he clicked the profile, the system reported that the account did not exist. The email had vanished from the server. Only his local copy remained. And in his inbox, the postscript had changed. At first, it had said, If you hear the whistle, do not stop the recording. Now it said, If you hear the whistle a second time, leave the water's edge. Min should have stopped. He told himself that many times afterward. He should have packed the reel, mailed it to Grace Bell's granddaughter, shut down his equipment, and forgotten all of it. But some curiosity does not come from the mind. It comes from a crack inside a person. Min's father had died when Min was 12. He had worked maintenance near the Cliff House for a short time before the accident at Land's End. People said he had slipped near the cliffs on a foggy morning. His body was found 3 days later. Min's mother never spoke of it again. But in their old house, Min once found one of his father's notebooks. On the last page was a rough sketch of Sutro Baths, along with one sentence. Not everyone who falls into the sea dies in the sea. Min had been too young to understand. now that sentence had returned. At 4 that afternoon, Min drove to Land's End. The San Francisco sky was low and gray. Cold ocean wind carried the taste of salt. He parked at Mary Way and walked down the slope toward the ruins. In daylight, Sutro Baths did not look haunted. It looked like the skeleton of a giant, laid out along the edge of the Pacific. Low walls. Pools of standing water. Old channels where swimming basins had once been. Black rocks beaten white by waves. Above it stood the cliff house. Farther out were the seal rocks, where the cries of sea lions sometimes sounded like people moaning in the fog. Min stood by a cracked concrete wall and opened the footage on his phone, comparing it with the landscape. The 1966 camera angle had not been inside the ruins. It had been up along the road, looking down. But the girl in the yellow swimsuit was standing in an impossible place. If the angle was correct, she would have been standing in midair above a section that had already collapsed. Min took several photographs. As he started back up the trail, a voice spoke behind him. "You should not come down here when the fog starts moving in." Min turned. A woman in her 30s stood a few yards away, wearing a volunteer jacket for the park. Her hair was tied back, and she held a radio in one hand. "I was only looking," Min said. "That is what everyone does," she replied. "Then they step over a barrier. Then the tide comes in. Then we call rescue." She introduced herself as Nora Salazar, a volunteer who helped with historical tours around Land's End. When Min mentioned Grace Bell, Nora's expression changed slightly. "You knew her?" Min asked. "I knew stories about her," Nora said. "She used to come here every year. June 26th. The day of the fire." Nora nodded. She would stand on the lowest step holding a towel, waiting until the fog covered the old pools. "Once, I asked who she was waiting for." "What did she say?" Nora looked down at the dark water trapped between the concrete walls. She said, "I am waiting for them to call my name correctly." The ocean wind strengthened. Min asked, "Has anyone here ever heard a whistle?" Nora did not answer immediately. She looked at him as if deciding whether he was a curious tourist or a future problem. Finally, she said, "When the fog is heavy, sound behaves strangely here. Waves echo through caves. Wind cuts through concrete. Birds cry. People hear all kinds of things." "What about children laughing?" This time, Nora went silent. Min knew he had touched the right place. "You should leave before dark," she said. "You heard it. Go home, Min." He had never told her his name. That night, Min continued restoring the film. He used a different algorithm to separate the background noise from the voices. The more he worked, the clearer the audio became. The first section sounded like a crowded swimming pool. The middle section sounded like fire. But the ending was worse. It was a brief conversation between three people. A woman crying. "There are children down there." A man snapping back. "There is no list. No names. No one." Then an older voice. Close the pump room. The water will wash it clean. Then came knocking. Not one person knocking. Many people. Hands pounding on metal from the other side. Min stared at the image. Smoke rose high. The crowd outside watched the fire as if they were watching a show. No one in the film seemed to know that below the building, if the audio was real, people were trapped. He went to the final seconds. The screen darkened. Before the film ended, one single frame appeared. A single frame. Min froze it. In that frame, the fire was gone. Instead, he saw the inside of Sutro Baths when it was still whole. A soaring glass roof. Rows of yellow lights. Swimming pools shining beneath them. Hundreds of people standing along the railings, silently looking down. In the middle of the pool stood 11 figures. They stood on the surface of the water. They did not sink. They did not move. All of them had their backs turned. Except the little girl in the yellow swimsuit. She was turning her head. Min shut the screen off. The apartment went dark. But in his headphones, one sound continued. The little girl whispered, "You counted wrong." The next day, Min went to the Richmond District Historical Archive. He was not looking for ghosts. He was looking for paper. Because paperwork, even when it is cold and careless, always leaves a trail. He searched newspapers from around June 26, 1966. The Sutro Baths fire appeared as a major event, but there was no victim list. The building's decline, the demolition work, and the high-rise apartment plans received more attention than any human being. Then Min searched missing person reports from that period. Scattered through the records were a few names. A teenager who had run away. An immigrant woman who never returned to her room. A janitor who never came to collect his pay. A child who was supposedly taken to Oakland by her mother. A homeless man who disappeared from Ocean Beach. None of the files connected them to Sutro Baths. No one was recorded as having died in the fire. But every disappearance took place within 1 week before or after the fire. Min wrote down each name. Rosa Mendez. Milo Bell. Annie Wu. Thomas Keane. Elias Crow. Peter Novak. Samuel Reed. Lena Park. Joseph Arida. Mei Lin. 10 names. He stopped writing. In the recording, the woman had said, "It is not 10. So who was the 11th? Min kept searching. Near noon, he found a tiny newspaper item almost hidden between a used car advertisement and a classified notice. A young Asian man named David Tran had been reported missing near the Cliff House, but the family later withdrew the report. Min felt his spine go cold. Tran. His father's English name had been David. But Min's father was born in 1959. In 1966, he would have been 7 years old. Min reopened the scan of his father's notebook. The sketch of Sutro Baths. The strange sentence. And in the corner of the page, one number. 517. Min no longer believed this was a coincidence. That evening, Nora called him. "I do not know what you are doing," she said immediately, "but if you have Grace Bell's film, you have to give it to me." "Why?" "Because it made someone else go down there." "Who?" Nora went quiet. Min could hear wind through the phone. She was outside. "A tourist disappeared last night," Nora said. "Male, about 26. The person with him said he heard children calling from below the ruins. He went down to look, then vanished in the fog." Min stood up so fast his chair hit the wall. "You are at Sutro?" "Yes." "Do not go down there. We are searching for him." "Nora, listen to me. If you hear the whistle..." A sharp sound cut through the call. A lifeguard whistle. Far away, but so clear that Min felt it had sounded inside his apartment. Nora stopped speaking. "Nora?" There was no answer. Only waves. Then a child's voice came through the phone. "Uncle Min, this time you have to count all of us." The call ended. Min did not remember how he got to his car. He remembered only the black San Francisco sky, the streetlights blurred by fog, and the key marked 517 striking against his chest from inside his coat pocket. When Min reached Mary Way, rescue vehicles were already parked near the lot. Red and blue lights swept through the fog. A group of park staff stood near the trail down, but no one was going deeper. "The tide is coming in too fast," someone said. Min pushed forward. "Where is Nora Salazar?" No one gave him a clear answer. He ran down the slope. A staff member tried to stop him, but Min pulled free. He heard radio static, people calling to each other, and waves striking rock. And beneath it all, very faintly, bare feet running across wet tile. Min crossed the low barrier and went down toward the old concrete steps. The fog was so dense his flashlight reached only a few feet ahead. "Nora," he called. No answer. He took another step. A figure appeared to his left. Then a second. Then a third. They stood along the edge of the old pool, all with their backs to him. Min raised the flashlight. The beam passed through them like mist. A man in an old bathing suit. A woman clutching a towel. A thin teenage boy. A child with wet hair stuck to the back of her neck. Min could not breathe. The figures did not move. Then all of them raised their hands at once and pointed toward a cracked concrete wall near the water. There, in the wall, was a dark gap. Min had never seen that opening during the day. He stepped closer. Beneath moss and sand was a metal hatch, almost completely buried. It looked like an old service entrance. At its center was a rusted lock. Min took out the key marked 517. He knew it made no sense. A changing room key should not open a service hatch after 60 years. But when he slid it into the lock, it fit perfectly. The lock turned. Click. From beneath the hatch rose the smell of stagnant water, seaweed, and old smoke. Min pulled the hatch open. Below it was a narrow stairway descending into darkness. And from somewhere below, Nora screamed his name. He stopped thinking. He went down. The stairway led into a low tunnel lined with cracked white tile. Water covered the floor up to his ankles. Each step echoed as if several other people were walking behind him. Min called Nora's name. Her voice came back from deeper inside. Here. He followed the sound. The tunnel opened into a large mechanical room. Old iron pipes, valves, gears, and patches of green moss covered the walls. Part of the ceiling had collapsed. Seawater poured in through a crack in the rock, rising in waves. Nora stood on a concrete ledge, holding a radio in one hand and supporting the missing tourist with the other. He was unconscious but breathing. The exit is flooding, Nora said. I do not know where the water is coming from. Min looked around. His flashlight swept across the rear wall. There were scratches in the tile. Not natural scratches. Names. Carved into the wall was something sharp. Rosa. Milo. Annie. Thomas. Elias. Peter. Samuel. Lena. Joseph. May. 10 names. Min stepped closer. Below them, almost hidden beneath mud, was another line. He wiped it clean with his hand. David. Min stepped back. The water in the room turned icy cold. Nora looked at him. You know that name? Min did not answer. Beside the name David was a tiny drawing of a child holding the hand of a taller man. Under it were 4 words scratched into the tile. He got out. We didn't. His father had been here. Not as a victim who died in the fire. As the only child who escaped this room. And he had carried that truth for the rest of his life. Then the whistle sounded. The second whistle. Not from above ground. From inside the tunnel. The figures appeared in the doorway of the mechanical room. They stood in the water, still with their backs turned. The little girl in the yellow swimsuit stood among them. Nora whispered, "What is that?" Min did not know how to answer. The girl raised her hand and pointed to a large valve on the wall. A number was painted above it. 7. Min understood. He rushed to the valve and turned it with both hands. It was frozen in place. Nora laid the tourist down and ran to help. Together, they pushed. Metal screamed. The water kept rising. To their knees. To their thighs. To their waists. The figures did not move. Min heard voices overlapping. Count again. It is not 10. Write down our names. Do not let the water wash us clean. The valve broke loose. A deep boom sounded behind the wall. The water churned violently, then began draining into an old outlet. At the far end of the room, another hatch appeared, leading to a stairway upward. Nora pulled the tourist toward it first. Men started to follow. But the little girl in the yellow swimsuit stood directly in front of him. This time, she turned all the way around. Her face was not terrifying. Not rotten. Not twisted. Not like the faces in horror movies. She was simply a child of about 8, with dark eyes, wet hair, and lips blue from cold. "Uncle Min," she said. He could not move. "Who are you?" he asked. She looked at him sadly. "I am the one Grace forgot to count." "You are her daughter?" The girl shook her head. Milo was her son. "Then who are you?" The girl reached out and touched Min's chest. The same place where the key marked 517 had rested. "I am the reason your father lived." Then she stepped backward into the water. And Min saw a scene that did not belong to the present. 1966. The mechanical room beneath Sutro Baths was black with smoke. Children were crying. Adults were pounding on the door. Seawater had begun spilling in through the locked pump system. 11 people were trapped. Among them was a 7-year-old boy named David Tran. He was not a worker. He had followed his mother, who washed towels there for extra money. When chaos erupted, he became lost and ended up below with the others. A little girl in a yellow swimsuit named Lena Park found a narrow ventilation shaft. It was just wide enough for one small child. The others pushed David forward because he was the smallest. David was terrified and refused to go. Lena took the yellow scarf from around her neck, tied it to his wrist, and said, "Get out. Then bring someone back." David crawled through. He escaped. But when he returned with adults, the hatch had been locked. They said no one was down there. They said the smoke had confused him. They told his mother not to cause trouble. By morning, the water had drained. The room was sealed. No one recorded the 10 people who remained. No one recorded Lena. Because Lena was not on any employment list. She had no papers. No family arrived to ask questions. No one with power demanded that the city reopen the wreckage. David lived. But part of him stayed beneath Sutro Baths. Years later, he changed his name, started a family, and had a son named Min. And every time fog covered Land's End, he heard the whistle. Not calling him down. Reminding him that he had promised to come back. Min woke on the grass above the ruins. A rescue light shone in his face. Nora sat a few yards away, coughing hard but alive. The missing tourist had been carried away on a stretcher. No one could explain why an old tunnel had been found beneath the ruins. No one could explain why the hatch had been locked from the outside with a lock that appeared on no technical map. No one believed Min when he said there were names carved into the wall. Because when the rescue team returned, seawater had swallowed the entire room. The wall was gone beneath mud and tide. But Min had taken photographs. Blurry. Shaking. Poorly lit. But clear enough to show 11 names. The next morning, Min sent the photographs, the film, and the restored audio to Grace Bell's granddaughter. She called back immediately. "Where did you get this?" "Your grandmother gave it to me," Min said. "That is not possible." "I know." She went quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Last night, I dreamed of her. She was standing outside my door holding a towel. She said she had to go pick up Milo." Min looked out the window. Fog was settling over the rooftops of Richmond. "Do you know the name Lena Park?" he asked. Grace's granddaughter said no. Min told her everything. When he mentioned Milo Bell, she began to cry. Milo was the son Grace had when she was very young. Her family had forced her to hide him. The boy often followed her to work near Sutro because she had no one to watch him. When he vanished, people said he had been taken somewhere else. Grace had lived her entire life believing she had left her own child behind. But Grace had not known about the others. She had not known about the girl named Lena who saved David Tran. She had not known that her son had died beside people with no names. 3 days later, Nora sent Min a message. "Have you watched the new version of the film?" Min opened the file. The footage of the Sutro Baths fire was still the same. Smoke. Fire. A watching crowd. But in the final second, the single hidden frame had changed. There was no longer an indoor pool. No longer 11 figures standing on the water. Instead, the frame showed the steps outside Sutro Baths on a foggy morning. 11 people were walking up from the ruins. Rosa. Milo. Annie. Thomas. Elias. Peter. Samuel. May. Joseph. David at 7 years old. And Lena Park, in the yellow swimsuit. But David did not go with them. He remained on the lowest step, looking toward the camera. Then a grown man stepped out of the fog. Min's father. He knelt before Lena. He said something Min could not hear. Lena smiled. Then all of them dissolved into the gray light of the sea. Min sat in front of the screen for a long time. He thought the story had ended there. Until someone knocked at his door. 3 knocks. Slow. Wet. Min walked to the door. Outside his apartment lay Grace Bell's old white towel. On top of it was a key. Not key 517. This one was marked 518. Min bent down and picked it up. On the back of the oval plastic tag, a tiny sentence had been scratched into the surface. "Your father was not the only one who got out." Min stood frozen. From the far end of the apartment hallway, fog began to roll in. There should not have been fog on the third floor. But it came anyway, crawling over the tile, white and cold, carrying the smell of salt water and old chlorine. Inside the fog, a woman appeared. A dark blue raincoat. Silver hair pinned low. Grace Bell looked at Min, placed one finger to her lips, and pointed behind him. Min turned. The computer screen in his office had started playing the Sutro Baths film by itself. But this time, it was not 1966. It was live footage of his apartment. Shot from a high angle, as if someone were standing on an invisible glass roof and looking down. On the screen, Min saw himself standing at the door. He saw Grace Bell in the hallway. He saw fog entering the room. And behind him, beside his work desk, stood a soaking wet man. His father. He was not looking at Min. He was looking at the key marked 518. Then the audio began. No whistle. No children laughing. Only his father's voice, very soft, very tired, as if he had waited half a lifetime to say one sentence. Min. Do not open the last changing room. The screen went black. Outside the door, Grace Bell disappeared. The towel fell to the floor. And from Min's office, where there was certainly no swimming pool, came the sound of water striking concrete. Beat by beat. Beat by beat. As if somewhere beneath his apartment, beneath the city, beneath all the buried layers of memory, Sutro Baths was still intact. Still lit. Still open. And still waiting in changing room 518. Waiting until the last person was finally called by the right name. Some ruins do not stay silent because they are empty. They stay silent because someone was told to forget what happened there. So if you ever stand above Sutro Baths when the fog comes in from the Pacific, do not count the broken pools. Count the names you can still hear in the water. And if the whistle blows twice, leave before the fog learns yours. If this story stayed with you, subscribe to Infinite Story Realm for more true place horror stories, forgotten histories, and the voices that still echo after the lights go out.